Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, but I am a mom who lives life with the spectrum. And every week we try to speak with people who are also living life with the spectrum. And today I'm so honored to have you, Jennifer, on the show. Jennifer, pronounce your last name so I don't screw it up.
Uh, we
Schwenker.
having issues again?
I think we are having some internet issues, but we're gonna go. Well, let's see how deep we can get into this. Jennifer, I met
Okay.
you in Stars through the YMCA when Sam and Ben were just going to start their high school journey. You have twin boys. Tell me all about them.
Yeah. Well, they're 19 now.
Wow.
So they just graduated. And then next year they'll go to Wheeler High School. They have a transition academy there. Cobb County has some transition academies, and that's one of them.
And I know that there's something that happens when kids turn 18 because you kind of lose your legal rights, correct?
Yes.
So what did
Yes,
you
they are adults at 18. They're adults at 8, and we're all adults at 18.
Okay. Did you have to
So
file like petitions with the state or how did you have to work that?
uh, what you do is you go to the Cobb County Courthouse. Or actually, I'm pretty sure we downloaded the forms. Of course, this was all during the pandemic, so it might have been a little atypical.
Right.
Um, Fill out the paperwork with help from all your friends that have done this before. Don't hesitate to find people that have done this before. And then there's things out there online that will help you know what to fill, how to fill it out. There's you can get some free legal aid to talk with an attorney in Cobb County for questions. So you fill that out, and you petition to have guardianship, and you can also do conservatorship if you need to. So those were the things we felt best for Ben and Sam.
Okay.
We
And
needed to do for them.
in this transition academy, what can the boys expect?
Well, that is not as academic. You kind of move away from the academic
More
goals and
life
objectives.
skills?
It's more life skills and job skills,
Okay. And will
whatever they
ha,
can do.
have Sam and Ben started working yet? Have they been able to hold down a little part-time job?
No, no. We've done some training at the forms of camps at Tommy Nobis Center.
Okay.
And they've had a little bit of training at school. Take a good bit of support if this is going to be accomplished, because their their challenges are really, really involved. So, but they
What
have,
kind of
we did. Oh, I'm sorry.
what
What
kind
were
of
you going to say?
challenges do they have? Because they're twins, but they also are very different on the spectrum. As we know, all kids are different on the spectrum. So can you kind of give me a little breakdown of what each one is like?
Okay. Well, Ben and Sam, we call them Benji and Sammy. Um, they have a lot of similarities, but then they do have a lot of differences. Um, Ben is what I call functionally nonverbal. Uh, I, you know, I can understand majority of what he is telling me. He can ask for very simple things. We're trying to get him to use complete sentences. It's very difficult for him. He likes to talk about things maybe in his little videos that he's watching, but it would be just one word. And he's just trying to like build up his little file folder in his head of
Yeah,
vocabulary. So,
sure.
and he just resists using, even though we've really hard, the AT, assistive technology, like an iPad with a communication device on it. It's just too much going on for him there, and he'd almost just prefer to just get us with him, take our fingers, touch something. Maybe even he's not the artist like Sam is, but sometimes he can draw little pictures, or he can use our fingers and write some of the letters, or maybe try to tell us letters. So it's and then he also still has wandering and elopement issues, and that coupled with not being able to communicate. I mean, you know,
That's a
I
tough day.
I
It's a
understand.
tough day for him.
I understand most, but there's still some things I don't. Uh, sometimes even Mike has to say he needs help, for me to figure it out. So we have to keep an eye on him outside of home, because if he were to wander away or run away, which is what we had his whole life, issues, because he's a curious George. Not because he's trying to get away, he just sees something and he's interested, and he's
Sure, squirrel.
reeling to go see things. Yes. So if he were to go away, it would be really hard for anybody to figure out what's going on with him.
Does he have a bracelet?
And for him to tell.
Does he
He
carry
does,
some
but
things?
yeah, he does. He's got a couple of bracelets that he won't even let us touch, because it's like an OCD, it's like an anxiety thing.
Mhm.
So over the years, the information on those bracelets is kind of worn off. But you can't get them off to put new ones on, because it's like he would have a massive anxiety attack, which looks kind of like him turning pale, losing all the color out of his lips, and almost passing out and
Oh,
sweating.
geez. Yeah,
That's
you
his
don't want that.
anxiety. No. So I got some other bracelets but he won't keep it on all the time. If we leave the house, I put it on him, he'll keep it on. But once he's in the house, he wants it off. So if he were to get away from us in the house, and I didn't hey, wait, before you run away, let me put your bracelet on. I can't do that. So it's very challenging. And Ben, I've always kind of called Ben the curious George, Houdini, Einstein, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt. You know who Usain Bolt is?
Is Sammy like that too?
Sammy is very curious. I used to have more issues with him wandering. I could still have issues with him wandering. He does not, and he can speak a lot, but it is not conversational back and forth. He'll just go tell people things.
One word answers, or yeah.
No, more than, I mean, it's a lot of words, but it's not, again, it takes, I mean, Mike and I can understand him, and people that know him can understand him, but it's not a conversation. You can't ask him how his day was, or anything further than what he says. You can't really get into talking to him about it.
I mean, life has been pretty hard for you and your husband then, because you are full-time caregivers, along with, you have to have work in order to, provide for all the
Right.
therapies and all of the different things. Now, some of the resources out there are great. Do the boys get the Katie Beckett waiver? I know each state has different things for different challenges. So viewers that are watching this might not know, like here in Georgia, we have things like the Katie Beckett waiver. And what kinds of assistance are you able to get with Sammy and Benji?
The Katie Beckett waiver was something, it was not easy to get, but we've had it. And then when they turn 18, you switch over, because you apply for guardianship, maybe you get conservatorship, you apply for SSI, so it switches over to Medicaid.
Sure.
What you also need to apply for is, if you're doing the Katie Beckett waiver and you get that, you need to fill out the paperwork to get on the waiting list for the NOW comp waiver with the Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental Disabilities. You have to find which region you live in, fill that out. So we did that, and you'll be on a waiting list with 8,000 other people in the state of Georgia that have disabilities. Sure. But you can advocate to try to get family support in the meantime. Okay. So you're on a waiting list, but it's better than being on the waiting list with nothing. But in the family support usually amounts to about $3,000 a year. and they'll tell you what you can use it on. It's usually like respite or maybe some kind of a camp or something for your child in the summer. So we have some of that. And in the meantime of being on the waiting list, of course, Katie Beckett helps pay for pretty much your co-pays of your drugs and your therapies.
Sure. And that's important. You have to have every little bit when you are going through therapy. Typically for a while, every day, maybe every week. I don't know what your therapy schedule is like for the boys, if they still have therapies. I'm sure they do, right?
They do, but we're on hold right now because unfortunately a couple of our therapists changed their schedules. One for a master's degree and went on to a more supervisory level. And so we're waiting for new therapists. And of course, waiting list, even though we should be first on line for, maybe the next two therapists that come up, those therapists have to be willing to do the kind of schedule we have, which would be school, not during summer, but of course, you know how quickly the summer goes by. During the school year, it'd be like 3:30 to 8:30.
Yeah.
So it has to be somebody that wants to work 3:30 to 8:30, which we've had for about a year and a half. And, of course, there's just a lot of a lot of help shortages in every facet, including therapy. So
I know I always tell people now, going into school, I'm like, if you want a job, get a therapist for being on the, become a therapist. There's jobs everywhere.
That's right. Or, a registered behavior technician, and then study and become a BCBA, board certified behavioral analyst. Right now, of course, Murphy's Law, it hits where it's summer. We have no therapist and my husband's on midnight shift. But I can
it falls on you.
That with all, yes, it does. And the way it falls on me. Oh, woe is me. No, poor boys. They have to put up with me. They have to put up with me and my energy level. And the fact that when we go places, I'm going to say, well, Sam, you're going to have 15 minutes on the clock to do, walk around the store or go to whatever area you want to go to. And then it'll be Ben's turn for 15 minutes. And we might bat that back and forth a couple of times. And if you don't follow the rules, then we're going to leave because I can only do so much. So they know that it's a little tighter than if they had their own therapist to, guide them through the, playground or whatever.
So now let me ask you a question. Since they're 19, they're going to a transition school. Do you and your husband, we're all getting older, right? And you have to think about what happens when you're not there. And so have you and your husband looked into an attorney that deals with what they can do for the boys once you and your husband are gone? Is that set? Because wills they say to update your will every 7 years. I don't know how, I haven't done that in 7 years myself, but give me a little insight about what you and your husband have done.
Well, I think when the boys were in 6th grade, I met an attorney that I had heard speak that was a special needs will, and specifically for special needs wills and trust. And like she told me, you don't want to find somebody that dabbles in special needs will and trust. You want somebody that really knows and does that a lot. Maybe it's one of their specialties, and maybe they do elder law along with it. So we found an attorney and she did the special needs will and trust for us. And then during the pandemic, some things changed in our lives. So we wanted to update it, and we were all watching Zoom things during the pandemic, and another friend had an attorney that said, if you'll listen to my Zoom conference and I'll give you a discount on yours. So we thought, well, let's listen to it, because what else do we have to do?
Right.
And maybe, I'm the kind of person that I'll sit through a seminar on SSI, even though I've already got an SSI. I'm gonna sit through one tomorrow, online, because I want to make sure I understand it fully. Maybe I'll sit through a GVRA, Georgia Voc Rehab seminar even though I already think I know it, because I want to make sure I understand every facet. So we sat through the special needs will and trust thing. He was really, really good. He gave us a discount because we sat through his Zoom thing. And he, along with the other attorney, came to our house and did this at our kitchen table, which was amazing. Not only because they could really see you and your life, and then they could see your kiddos and all that. So special needs will and trust, very, very important. And you know, what you need to do with the money for the child and protect the money, because that
Oh,
can that can affect their social security and their Medicaid benefits. And yeah, there's a lot of rules.
a lot of rules. And you hope one day that hopefully the boys could, do you think one day that the boys could not live necessarily independently, but possibly like in a group home situation where they are able to kind of take care of themselves with some support? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit more involved with that
I
family
see
there?
a great level of support, like a complete level of support for them.
Okay.
Because where he is at 19, with his language, his level of autism, his impulsivity that he has no ability to control, and when you're a little boy and you're running down the street and you run into somebody's house or you get into somebody's car because you're curious about their house or their car, that's one thing. When you're 19, a full grown man, and you do
Yeah.
that, you risk you know, being
Oh, you
arrested or
could get arrested. Yeah,
not
you could get, or
arrested.
further, or shot
Yeah, arrested,
because,
shot. You could get kidnapped. We got all this trafficking. So he needs, and I feel like right now, I feel like they're both going to need
round the clock care.
24/7. They're not going to. I don't ever, like, if Mike's at work and we're out of milk, Ben and Sam and I go to the store and get milk. I can't leave them in the house to just
No.
drive 1 mile away to the store, get milk, and come back. They might set the house on fire
Oh,
because
geez.
they're so curious. They might, play with the stove and literally set the house. And there was, like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago that I was down the hall doing something, came in and they were playing with the stove. I thought, at 18 years old, am I going to have to take
Oh,
the knobs off the stove? What are you doing?
you got to do what you got to
You
do.
gotta do what you gotta do. So I can't even leave them at the house to go 1 mile away to Publix, get milk, and come back. I will not do it. So
So,
that's
Jennifer, I know that time is precious with you and that you have two boys that you have to get back to and attend to. So, I really want to give you the floor to talk about anything that you think either one, um, you've gone through that people need to know. Two, somebody somewhere out there might just be getting that diagnosis, uh,
mm,
that they need to know something that you found invaluable, or maybe it's something that you can direct them with graduating seniors now moving on to transition school thing, something. You have the floor, Jennifer. Speak at will about something that you truly found invaluable in your life with the spectrum journey.
I would definitely say, if you have any idea that your little one is not meeting developmental milestones, get them evaluated, start therapy. Therapy never hurt anybody. You can always back off of it, but you're losing, valuable time.
Oh, yes.
Speech, occupational, physical,
ABA.
uh, hippotherapy, some really good ABA that you're a part of that you can watch, because I know ABA gets a lot of bad press, and I
Gosh,
know
it
they're much.
saved it saved
Yes,
our household.
it did. And I was going to say a minute ago, the reason why I can take them out right now this summer, just the three of us, to certain places. Like, I'm not going to take them to the Georgia Aquarium by myself. I'm not even going to take them to the little neighborhood playground by myself, because they separate and do too many things. And I can't cut myself in half and chase one way or the other.
Right,
I
right.
mean, I'll take them to church, I'll take them to the grocery store, those kind of things. But yeah, ABA therapy, but you need to be a part of it. You need to be in the conversation. You need to be observing it. I would say in the last year and a half, especially the last year and a half, the intensity of the ABA that we've done in our house, because it was not in a clinic, It was in our house in the natural environment. Now, where the places we go, church, stores, whatever,
Yeah,
parks.
sure.
That has enabled me right now with the break in services and Mike being on midnight shift to take them places and let them do things.
ABA is, I cannot
Yeah,
stress how
yeah,
important it is. And I don't
it
know why it
is.
gets a bad rap. Like, I don't know. I personally have never met anyone, Jennifer, that has balked at ABA. I have only heard good things. And I know it's tough. It
It
was
is.
tough that first day, couple of days for my son and for me, because I had
Yeah,
to watch him go through severe meltdowns. But let me
yeah.
tell you, after you got over that little hump,
Hmm.
it was like, these people know how to speak their language, and I'm getting,
Yep.
and I'm learning too.
I was
And
gonna say
that,
it changed. It changes us. It changes us. It changes the way we drive the car.
yeah, it changes
um,
everything,
and
and changes it
and
for
that
the better.
yeah, and that needed to happen. I
Yeah,
needed to have because when you're a parent, you automatically like knee jerk react to things the way we always see parents react, and you almost have to react the opposite direction.
yeah,
If they're doing something that you don't want them to do, you have to block it and redirect it rather than saying no, 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 don't do that after or if they're you have to block and redirect. You can't give it any reinforcement in any way, shape, or form. If you say even a word, whether it's no is even reinforcing it because they're
wait,
getting attention.
I read today in my show prep for the radio, that the average parent says no to their child 23 times a day, and I said, in my house, that
Yeah,
might be a little bit more.
yeah,
Or
I know.
it might be a little less. It depends on which day. And you're right,
Yeah.
though. It is all about redirecting and using
Hmm.
different words. You have to speak to children on the spectrum a little bit
You
differently
do.
than, and sometimes I remember, my old psychologist, who diagnosed Lyric, said, the average kid you have to tell 3 times to do something. Well, child on the spectrum, you might have to repeat it 3,000 times.
Yep.
And she wasn't kidding, because
Nope.
just to get my son to go down and brush his teeth, I might ask him to do that 25 times before he actually makes it into the bathroom.
Yeah. Yep. 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 You got to learn how to, make little schedules and little visuals, and you have to
Oh,
stay. Yeah, little visuals for them helps so much. You can just point to something, and you have to learn how to fade. You're going to start by, verbally prompting and physically prompting, and then you're going to fade your
totally.
prompts and help them to try to be independent. And that's the biggest thing that has happened in the last year and a half with our therapy. So anyway, I would say like one of the biggest things is if you're feeling like you have a little one and they're not meeting developmental milestones, get them evaluated, get them into some therapies. And then when, if they start taking off and you can phase out, great, that's great. If not, you've been proactive rather than reactive. You can't really,
Go
go
wrong with
back, and
that.
you've got that developmental time. And then I would say, become friends with people who are ahead of you in the game, and
Like
they
you,
can help.
Jennifer.
That's well, I might be helping people behind me, but I've got a bunch of people before me that I might even still I'm still learning stuff.
We all do.
I'm still
It's
gonna
really,
call my friend that has a couple of years ahead of me experience. Yeah, definitely. So I would say do that, and never go to an IEP meeting alone. And
I just had my advocate on the other day.
yes,
Marsha Lindner was so terrific. What a great
okay,
interview that was. Yeah.
okay, good. And then also, I want you to live life and don't apologize to people. Go. It's gonna be, there was
That
like,
judgment,
yeah,
it is something, and I think, in the first part of your journey with life with the spectrum, you have a thin skin and you take things personally, and the way people look at you or the things that they snicker about it. I have goosebumps telling you. I remember coming home and crying because
mm-hmm,
it's a pill that you still don't ever really want to swallow as a parent.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And then you start to develop a thicker skin and you're like, you know what, my kid, if you knew my kid and you knew the many gifts that God gave him and the
mm-hmm,
many blessings that I am so lucky to have, um,
yep,
you know what? you don't look at me, don't judge me. And I don't care if you do look at me or judge me,
Yeah.
because guess what? I got the best kid,
Yep.
and that that I'm learning from every single day. There's a reason
Mm-hmm.
that they're in our lives,
Yep.
to
Yep.
make us stronger, to make us more patient. I mean, you pick the many ways.
Oh, I know. I know.
But
And people, I mean, like if somebody were to come up to you and go, maybe it's somebody I don't know, and I just, I'm introducing myself, and then I introduce Ben and Sam. They have autism, and sometimes they go, "Oh, I could tell." Oh, God bless your heart. And I say, "No, God bless theirs. They have to put up with me. They have to put up
yeah,
with.
and
They
and
have
it's
to.
a
Ben and Sam have to put up with me not understanding them. They have to put up with me not being able to meet all of their needs, out in public, and so I have to, you know." create bigger boundaries for them, and they have to put up with the world, and I'm trying to make the world,
better place.
I'm trying to make them understand how they're supposed to function in the world, but I'm also at the same time, trying to make, and I will say I feel like, there's definitely better good people in the world that are going to support you than there are the bad.
Oh,
um,
sure.
I would say, and I used to have a thinner skin and I would cry, and now I just get mad at them. Or what usually happens is I'm so busy I can't pay attention to anybody that might be gawking at us, Um,
And
so,
that's the thing about autism, is you wish people would understand and accept that everybody
mhm,
is different. And now, um, autism with 1 in 44 children, 1 in 44 is the new norm.
mhm,
It's almost like a new personality type,
yeah,
if you will. And uh, I think people work alongside of people who are autistic. I think people go to restaurants where waitresses, staff, your checkout at the grocery store
definitely,
might be on the spectrum. And you know
definitely,
what? I just think if you can accept, and I wish people were more accepting. Unfortunately,
yeah,
because people don't necessarily take the time to understand.
mhm.
I always say, Jennifer, I would love to have 5 minutes in my kid's brain. Just give
Oh,
me
oh,
five
I say that.
minutes
Oh, I say that all the time.
give
Yeah.
me
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes. Let me get in there and see how
Mhm,
he sees things. And
mhm.
I always say, oh, it would make me a better mom. And at
Yeah,
the end of the day, we're all doing what we we're
that's
all
right.
doing the best we can.
We are. We are.
And we're
We
very
are.
blessed to
So,
have the kids that we have.
yeah. Definitely. I am definitely. I just worry about
Their
who's going to be
future.
there, who's going to be there for them when Mike and I are not there. And, we've got it all on paper. We've got, financial stuff set up, but who's going to be, who's going to be there, So
That's
we're,
the
we're, we're doing the best we can. We're trying to, we're doing the best we can with love. And if you find you made a mistake, then you just, you know, change it or whatever.
right.
But you can't be anxious about it. You have to move forward. You have to do it. And that's what I was going to say also with going out in the world. Don't become homebound. That was one of my things was I refuse to be homebound with them for their purposes because they're not going to learn how to be in the world. They're not going to learn how to stand in a line and how you sit in a church or a theater or how you stand in line at the grocery or anywhere. They're not going to learn those things unless they do them. And it's ugly and it's sweaty and it's dirty at first. And you may have to abort mission. You may have to abort mission a lot, but you just keep doing it till you don't abort mission. And I that's one of my I think my somehow or another I find the wherewithal, and it's definitely God helping me do this, no doubt. To say, let's go do this and we'll try it. And then if we fail, if we have to abort mission, we abort mission. We just try it the next time, and
can
like,
can the
like for
boys
instance,
sit
like,
in can the boys sit in a movie theater and
yeah,
watch a
I was just
movie?
getting ready to bring up a movie. We did a lot of those sensory friendly things, and those are great way to test it out. I know I have, people that I've met or have friends, and they're like, "Oh no, my child couldn't sit through the movie." Like that's the perfect way to test it out. Just go, and if they need to walk out in the hall, forbid it, or they need to stand up and pace or whatever, they can. And then you do that enough, hopefully they'll get some times under their belt. And I always kind of said, like, I would take the boys to symphony orchestra, not like
Yes,
AS,
they love
not like
music.
not like ASO, but like the Cobb Wind Symphony over here at Lasser High School, and they
Sure.
perform, or the Georgia Symphony Orchestra over at the Marion High School auditorium when they would perform there. And I would take them, and I just I would take them because they love Baby Einstein and classical music so much. So they learned that, you know, it's going to start and it's going to end at some point, and they didn't die, you know?
Right.
So they have learned, that they can sit through things like that and enjoy it, and then it's going to have an ending. And so, yeah, we can go to movie. Like we went to see, the Top Gun movie recently, and it was a general showing because they're probably not going to have a sensory friendly Top Gun showing,
Right. Well,
But
this year was very exciting for us. We finally got Lyric to go to the movies and sit through a
good.
whole one. We found that taking him to like the movie tavern where you can eat
Yeah.
and watch a
Eat.
movie was
Yeah.
very good for him rather than just a movie where you grab some popcorn. So it was like a real experience. And that's
Yeah.
how we kind of, made it up to be. Jennifer, I know that you've got to go, and I do as well. We've got
Okay.
things that, mom in it. But I want to
Yep.
say thank you so much. And I feel like if people wanted to reach out to you, maybe they could find you on
Yeah.
socials or whatnot for
Sure.
parents, especially who
Sure.
are going through and getting ready to have their teenage kids go through a transition or hit 18. Where can they find you, Jennifer?
Uh, you want me to, how the best way for me to tell you this? I'm in like pretty much every special needs parent group on Facebook. There's special needs parents at East Cobb. I think I'm in that. Um, they could contact you and get my information if they want. How about that?
And I tell you, everyone, please, viewers listening and watching, like, comment, share. You need to meet Jennifer. You need to have Jennifer in your life. I do believe that Jennifer has a heart of gold and is a saint, and has been put through what all of us parents who live life with the spectrum, like the ringer. It's true. And it's hard to keep it together. One day is different from the next. And I just so thank you, Jennifer, for coming on and taking this time.
Well,
I know that time is valuable to you.
oh well, I thank you for thinking of me and interviewing me, and this has been fun. It's felt like a conversation more than an interview, and it's been nice. And I would like to. It's been a while since I've actually physically been around you. I would like to
I know, I can't.
see you
Stars
again.
is going to start back up in the fall.
Okay,
And I
good.
know the boys love basketball, and Lyric does well. So I
Yeah.
know that I'll see you there for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm completely open to anybody finding my information through you, and send me a Facebook message because I'm on there, and I'll do whatever I can. I don't know all the answers, but I know a lot of people that do. And I would
That's
say
what I always
join all the little Facebook groups, because that's where I find a lot of information and people too.
and that's what I
So,
always say. You know what? We're not experts, we're not doctors, but we're moms who live life with the spectrum. And I
mhm.
have to tell you, like, comment, share, become part of those groups on Facebook. Search them
Yeah,
out in your area. If you're not here local to Atlanta, there's a community right there wherever you live. And
yeah.
again, thank you, Jennifer, so much for your time today.
Thank
And
you.
until we meet again, we live life with the spectrum right here. See ya.
Happily.